with a view from Sittin On The Fence. This is Backyard's Non-Tech channel. Hey, what's happening? Sittin On The Fence here at Backyard's Non-Tech channel. And time to talk about a topic that if I was to talk about on my main channel, all hell would break loose. This whole BLM, Antifa, cancel culture, fucking schmozzle we're all going through. Alright? It's ridiculous. Okay. Right now, the world has some serious bloody problems. Really serious. We're trying to get through this horrific pandemic shoved down our throat by China. We've got economic chaos around the world. And at the same time, we're dealing with a social issue that, as far as I'm concerned, has got such a simple goddamn bloody fix. No politician, no bureaucrat, or no highly educated person has probably even fucking thought of. Or if they have, it's proven so easy they can't even implement a plan. Okay, Black Lives Matter. Now look, every life matters regardless of race, creed, colour, religion, political views, whatever. Okay. I agree that, one, we've got a racist problem around the world. But number two, I agree with BLM's platform. I agree with what they are wanting. I just don't agree with the way they're going about it, number one. Number two, Antifa is causing chaos around the world. They've got to be brought into line and told to shut up. Number three, we've got geopolitical issues all over the countryside at the moment, all because some countries don't like the idea of freedoms. I've got to tell you, Australia does, or at least I do. Now, BLM. Yes, I get it. The US, us, and other countries, we have a real problem with those of colour. How about I forget the political correct bullshit? We have a problem with people who are black. Here in Australia, we've got a big problem against our Aboriginal, our Indigenous people to the country. The US, you guys have got real problems with your black Indigenous people. I've got a simple fix for all of this. And I've got a simple message for this cancel culture bullshit. You cancel culture and rewrite history, what do we celebrate? Right now, my friends over in the US, it's 4th of July for you guys. A bit hard to have your standard celebrations on the 4th of July considering the pandemic, but I know with the US, much like us, we'll find a way of celebrating stuff. Here in Australia, what we need, and the same with the US and the UK and Europe and other parts of the world, is for your Indigenous people to A, be recognised in your constitutions, that's fine, and leave them alone. Now for us, for our Aboriginals, in various parts of rural Australia, let them live by their rules. Make a treaty with them, and probably the US could do the same thing, so could the UK. Make a treaty and say, fine, we recognise you in our constitution, you live your life. We'll just let you be. Now, in the case of the Northern Territory, there has to be some give and take in areas. But in rural parts of Australia, where the Aboriginals basically live on the land, leave them be. If they want to integrate into metropolitan areas and large cities, then let them integrate. But if they're out in the middle of the Western Australian outback, not going anywhere near anyone, leave them. Recognise them in our constitution, sign a peace treaty with them, and leave them. Stop shoving our way of life down their throat. Because the more we try and do that, and the more we make them give up their way of life, you'll never get anywhere. So you sign a peace treaty with them, and you leave them. You let them live by their rules. You recognise all the Aboriginal countries around Australia, and you leave them. If they want to come into our big cities, then you work out how to integrate them into us, or us into them. In the US, Black Lives Matter, I agree with their premise. I agree with what they are asking. Or some of the things they're asking, I don't necessarily agree with the things they're demanding, but with some of the stuff they are asking, yes, old mate agrees. You sort of can't. But the way they're doing it is wrong. Right now, protesting isn't going to get you fucking anywhere. Most people have got far more important things on their mind. So, there are a number of ways you could do it, much like we could do it here in Australia, much like you could do it in the UK and parts of Europe, etc., etc., etc. Your first thing to do is to recognise them. Your second thing to do is to sign a treaty with them. The third thing you do is say, right, well, do you want to live your life or our lives? If they say our lives, then you integrate them. If they say their lives, you leave them. Okay? Antifa can get fucked. I'm sorry, what a load of bullshit. Let alone this cancel culture crap that's going through. You've got the Washington Redskins considering renaming the team for fear of offence. You've got some of the classic movies being pulled from Netflix and HBO and all this crap. Cable TVs going through their entire archive, ripping up freaking movies that were classics that won awards and everything like that, chucking them out. You've now got the Simpsons, who are about to change Apu from Hank Azaria to an Indian actor. What, for fuck's sake! What are we going to do? Cancel everything? You can't have an opinion now. Because if you've got an opinion, you've got to keep it to yourself. I was brought up to express my opinion. I'm an 80s kid. If I've got an opinion, I'll fucking say it. I can't do that on my main channel because you're not allowed to have an opinion, especially on YouTube. You get some people howling on you. What's that saying? Keep your opinions to yourself? I fucking don't believe in that. These minority groups, like the cancel culture groups and all that, are trying to shove their own point of view down the majority's throat without consultation. Essentially saying, hey, we've got the right way to live, you fucking live our way. Bullshit. These groups have never heard of give and take. They pressure so many companies, and there's probably only like, for example, 25 people slamming a company down the throat saying, if you don't change, we'll boycott you. All right, yeah, look, let's cancel history. Let's rewrite the history books. Let's cancel all our favourite things. Let's change everything we've all grown up with. What happened to wheeling and dealing? What happened to compromise? Am I that old they don't exist anymore? Or is it just a case of, right, we cancel everything, you live our way? I fair suck of the fucking sauce bottle. Now, some of my American friends will consider me a proxy US person, proxy American. I consider some of my American friends proxy Victorians, especially two of my friends in the Pacific Northwest of the USA, who are under the same problems that we are here in Victoria. In fact, they're a mirror image, almost. You can't just go around fucking cancelling everything because it might cause offence. Nestle here in Australia are changing the name of some of Australia's favourite sweets because of it causes offence. Well, for fucking to who? Classic movies getting taken off streaming services because of They were made back then. Jimmy Kimmel's been absolutely belted for a blackface. So is Jimmy Fallon from something they did 20 fucking years ago. Hang on. Why is it now the problem and 20 years ago no one said boo? Okay. I used to watch, when it was on Channel 9, David Letterman. The Late Show with David Letterman. I love David Letterman. I think he's one of the best TV, him and Johnny Carson. Because we used to get Johnny Carson out here in Australia occasionally. Can you imagine Letterman did a blackface thing back in, say, the 80s? And he's still doing the Late Show today, instead of Stephen Colbert. He's doing the Late Show. Holy shit, would he be belted now? Why are we trying to change history? Why are we losing culture that we've had for so long? Because you've got these goddamn people who want to just cancel everything and start again. The federal leader of the bloody Greens party, who the Greens say she's been taken out of context, the left and right wing media here in Australia says no, she has not, so who do you believe, wants to change the name of Victoria. Hang on, I've been on this earth for 40 years. I know this state is Victoria. What are you going to do? Slam a new name down my throat? They don't get it that if you change the name of the state of Victoria or the state of Queensland, every single person's identity papers, every security sweep of the country has to be undertaken again. And that costs millions of dollars. You give me a... Look, the easiest way to fix the bullshit, forget the COVID-19 crap. Let's talk about Antifa, let's talk about BLM. We've got Extinction Rebellion here in Melbourne, who, funnily enough, some of them drive cars still. There's an easy way to fix all this bullshit. All right, defunding the police and going to social justice. Come on. There's another thing that's fucking bullshit as well. I mean, Jesus Christ. We're in the middle of a fucking health crisis and you've got people wanting human rights, but your average Joe is worried about his health at the moment. He's worried about his money. He's worried about his income. Main Street is struggling. But you've got these lobby groups and protesters out belting the crap out of everybody. Cancel culture has to stop, and it's got to stop now before we lose everything everyone my age and older has grown up with. Otherwise, our children and children's children are going to have no idea about the past. There'll be classic movies they will never ever see because of this crap. So here's the deal. If you want to fix racism around the world, it's very, very fucking simple. You get a high-profile community leader of black or whatever, and you get, whatever white. You bring him around the table with a cup of coffee and you nut out a deal. Now, here in Australia, it would be dead easy to fix, but because you've got politicians and bureaucrats and public servants and accountants and lawyers in the political system, unlike old mate, it'll never happen because it's too simple. It's far too simple. Here in Australia, as I said, you sit down, you bash out a treaty with the Aboriginals, and then you say, right, do you want to come and integrate your community into Melbourne or Sydney or Brisbane or what have you? Or do you want to, do you want us to fucking leave you alone? Now, if they say leave us alone, fine. Go and live on the land, live your life, Live the way you have always lived, and we'll leave you alone. Now, the Northern Territory, they sort of do that anyway. The Northern Territory and far northern Western Australia, the governments sort of have a light touch with the Aboriginals. I don't know about Queensland, New South Wales or Victoria, but I do know about the Northern Territory. My US friends, the easiest way to fix the problem with Black Lives Matter over in the US is to accept the blacks. Just say, right, okay, fine, it's one rule for everybody, job done. Okay, whether Trump accepts that, I don't know. We don't know his opinions on black people. We also don't know how many black people back Trump. Clearly BLM doesn't, so you've got to make the assumption they're Democrats, they're DNC people. Here's the deal. Oh, let alone the left coast. Sorry, west coast. Sorry, Demiformier, which is like Democrats in California put together. Right? Throw New York in as well. Unfortunately, throw Michigan into that too. Now, the best way to do this would be to get a high-ranking black community leader from each of the 52-odd states around the US, bring them into somewhere, don't know where, not Washington. You want to get them out of the Washington bubble. So put them somewhere. I have a fucking... It's got to be somewhere where there's no military. Or somewhere where there's nothing to do with the US military, the US Treasury, or anything like that. Fuck. Ohio. Dayton. Dayton or Cleveland, Ohio. Right? Pack them in. Grab Trump, grab pants, and basically sit there and say, righto, simple fix here, guys. Let's just call it quits. We accept blacks, and we'll say, fine, if that's what you want to do, go do it, but we won't be held responsible for your actions. That should shut up the left coast. I don't know whether it'll shut up New York. But if the blacks, if they want to be, if the only way you could really fix the problem, the same thing happens in Australia, you get a treaty happening, believe them, you basically say, fine, you live your life, we'll live our lives, but don't ask for our help. So if you get shot up, that's your fault, not our fault, type scenario, something like that. As I said, I agree with Black Lives Matter's premise. I just don't agree with the way they're doing it. I definitely don't like Antifa. Cancel culture's a load of crap. And I fail to see why no one's allowed to have an opinion these days. Because I don't give a... Look, I'll say it. I call a spade a spade. I say it how I see it. My friends know I'm blunt. That's my friends back home in Melbourne that I've known all my life. And my other friends. They all know I'm blunt. Unfortunately, on my main channel, if I say something about something, you offend someone. Look, it's an opinion. If you don't like it, that doesn't mean you should be shoving your point of view down someone else's throat. Look at the op-eds you see these days. Someone writes an op-ed in some newspaper or online blog. Fuck, they're held out of town. What, can we not respect an opinion anymore? If you follow me on my other channel, you'll remember when I said I don't like a couple of operating systems. That's just my opinion. I got shat on from a great height for saying that. Are we all that sensitive these days? I'm 40 fucking years old. I was born in 1980. I was brought up by my parents to express an opinion, be blunt about it, and call a spade a spade. Now, okay, yes, through the 90s and 2000s, we had to accept a few differences, but essentially, you should be allowed to say what you think without having a bunch of lobbyists and people who don't like an opinion belting you all over the countryside. You got fucking movie houses, changing their prerequisites for movies now in the US. You've got the UK doing the same thing. If you're not of a certain colour and are not represented in, 30% of TV shows, the TV show doesn't get nominated. Fucking what? Hang on, does that mean a low-rating TV show can walk out with, a television award even though it only rated 1%? Movie house, Hollywood. Imagine that. Imagine, okay, a movie has got less than 30% of one type of coloured person, okay, in a movie. The movie costs $4.5 million US to make and makes $100,000 at the box office, but it still walks away with an Oscar. For fuck's sake. America does have, and the same here in Australia, does have a bias when it comes to law enforcement against Indigenous people. Okay, yes it does. The Northern Territory has tried to even out the plane a little bit. I don't know about Queensland, definitely not here in Victoria, but I know in parts of northern Western Australia and the Northern Territory that the police have tried to even the playing field a little bit. But generally speaking, you look at the US, the statistics unfortunately are right, but it's not a good look. You've even got some black American police commissioners who clearly don't know their heritage and let this go by, which is wrong. If we continue this cancel culture bullshit, human history will never be the same, and our children and our children's children and so on and so forth will have no idea about what happened because it's going to be rewritten to look bad. Real bad. That's what they want. They want human history to look really, really, really ugly. What about the good we all did? What about the good things humans did? Around the world, regardless of race, creed, colour or religion. They don't exist. They don't want it to exist. They want history to start fucking now. Are we that fucking messed up? Really? Are we that fucking messed up that that Antifa, the anti-fascists, BLM, the cancel culture mob, the Me Too movement have caused this huge rift through society? We've gone from getting on with everybody to a point to now there's division, there's ugliness. Fuck me. And it's all happened in the last 10 or so years or a bit longer. Now, if I'd said what I'd said here at Backyard's Non-Tech channel on my main channel, holy shit. Can you imagine the backlash against the channel? Which is why I started this channel, because it gives me a chance to vent. Come on, Jesus. The best way to solve this, my US friends, you can agree or disagree with this. You get leaders of your black community and or black gangs as well. You sit them down somewhere with a cup of coffee and or a smoke, a cigarette or something, you nut out some sort of treaty. You grab your your police commissioner for each area, you grab your sheriff or whatever have you in the US, you fucking sit down, you have a cup of coffee, you have a cigarette or a cigar, and you fucking nut out a problem. And you say X, Y, and Z, they say A, B, C, and you meet somewhere in the middle in, LMN, or MNO. Do it that way. Here in Australia, same fucking thing. You grab the senior elders from the Aboriginals around Australia. You meet in a neutral town. So not Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, Adelaide, Perth, Darwin, Hobart. Or Canberra. Alright, you meet in a neutral spot. You fucking sit down and you go, right, we're offering XYZ, they offer ABC, you meet MNO. Okay? New Zealand, they're pretty accepting of their Kiwi, of their Maoris. In fact, the Maoris play an essential part in New Zealand's life. They've done it. Right? You say to people, right, that should sort out BLM. You forget about Antifa, fuck them off. The cancel culture bullshit, you say, hang on a minute, you want to rewrite human history to make everything humans did look bad. What about the good we all did? See, they're not talking about that. Not everything in the past was bad. Footnote, except for military and all that type of stuff, close brackets. Not everything we did was fucking bad, and yet they want to make it look like the whole of human history up to 2020, right? Because this has really started this year. Everything up to 2020 has been shithouse. Hang on. Are you saying right through from 0 AD right up to 2020 AD, everything has been bad? Every single fucking thing we've done has been bad. Really? Bullshit is what I say. Fucking bullshit. Classic movies getting taken off streaming because of offence. You've got blackface. Comedic strips done in blackface from 20 and 30 years ago. It was a different fucking time then. Why bring it into now? Back then people laughed at it. Not now. It's now considered, hang on, something that happened 20 years ago. Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy Fallon. Something that happened 20 years ago, you're going to bring it up? People laughed at it back then. That was then, not now. Imagine Johnny Carson. Imagine if he'd done that. You know, it's something he did 35, 40 years ago. It was a different time then. Why do you fucking want to bring it into now? Classic movies being taken out of circulation. What? Oscar-winning movies, Emmy-winning TV shows, Logie-winning Australian shows, Logie-winning Australian movie gone for something that happened 30, 40, 50 years ago. World-renowned comics who've been on the field for 30, 40, 50 years having to give up routines now. Fuck off. Fuck off, fuck off, fuck off. Sorry, no. You respect people, but that does not mean you shove it down their throat. The only way we're going to sort this problem out is, first off, let's forget the bullshit. Let's get this bloody pandemic under control globally. That's the first thing we've got to worry about. Because right now I can tell you, if you're in my situation or similar to old mate's situation, you're not worried about Antifa or BLM or fucking, what do we got here in Melbourne? Extinction Rebellion, which is around Australia. We're not worried about that. What we're worried about at the moment is our health, our income, and keeping a roof over our fucking heads. These guys, these lobbyists, etc., have taken an opportunity during a massive global crisis to forward their cause, forgetting about the fact that right at this point in time, your average Joe blog on Main Street is more concerned about keeping a roof over his fucking head, where his next job's coming from, how he's going to feed his family, because he ain't fucking working. Or if he is working, he's working in a reduced situation, which lowers his fucking income. If you want to get change and you want to try and find a middle ground, now's not the fucking time to do it. Let us get through this first, then let's have a conversation. Let's not protest. Let's not fucking try and shove lobbyist views down Main Street's throat. Okay? The other thing too, just for my international viewers, this woman who wants, the leader of the Australian Greens Party, who wants to rename Victoria, you've got a problem there because there's about 20, I think there's about 10 or 20 Aboriginal countries in the state. How do you rename it? And the cost of renaming it, the same as the cost of renaming Queensland. Passports, security checks, the whole of the Australian security have to be redone. They don't think. They want, but they have no idea the process to do it. Now's not the time for all this crap. Let's get this pandemic under control first, then let's sort of have a civilized conversation. Because right now, I can tell you, even if you're not in my personal situation, or similar to me, you are working. Are you really worried about what else is going on, or do you just want life to get back to normal at the moment? I'd like life to get back to normal personally. And then we can talk about this other crap. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to fucking happen. There we are. Sitting on the fence. Rant to kick off. Rant for Saturday. Head back to my main channel. Plenty coming up. Cheers.